Finance Director mentioned that indeed the 5.1 exists. In our opening remarks, we said that we are here to give everybody a fair opportunity. We will be firm, but then we also apply fairness. So we'll give everybody the opportunity to explain your position. So you didn't have to say something that you were not sure of, or something that you did not know, or something that you shouldn't have said when you didn't have the facts. We give you that respect because you are judicial service. And we don't want this to happen again.
Fractions is boiled down to breaching Regulation 78 of the PFM Act, LI 2378. This is about unsupported BTAs. You have 69 million Ghana cedis, where that whooping amount of money, there is no contracts, no invoice, no document to support, appropriate document to support. And then the auditors want to require principal spending officers to obtain the evidence of goods and services prior to approval. It was not there to be found. So you have breached Regulation 78. What is your take on this?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This question would be answered by the Director of Finance and the Deputy Director. I do not have personal knowledge of these matters, but I have been told and briefed that they have a reasonable defense and explanation to the question. One, they will speak about the precondition for the application.
So, Secretary, they are here. Let them speak for themselves.
Yes,
so just move to them.
Well, so I will ask them to proceed.
Honorable Chair, thank you. For the unsupported BTAs, it's a total amount of 18.1 million. And this is made up of 12.5 million for medical expenses, refreshment items, 175,000, and then seminars and conferences, 10.5 million. What the finance department does is that when we receive our allocation, our allotment from the Ministry of Finance, we make allocation to each budget line based on our approved budgets. So for the year under review 2024, we made an allocation to these expenditure items, but these are provisions that we make because at the time that we receive the allotments, invoices will not be ready. But because these are projected expenditures, because we have to pay staff medical, we have to pay for training of judges and staff, and this involves training of judges and staff nationwide as well as external training. So we make these allotments on these budget lines to be able to assess funds, because if you receive your allotment and you don't allocate any fund on the budget line, on the gift miss, when you receive payment, an invoice, you cannot make payments. So this came to a total of 23 million. And at the time of the audit, we had commitments to the tune of 5 point something million, which the auditors validated. So the 18 million was the amount that they rejected. But the explanation was that truly there are no payment vouchers at that time, but there are provisions that we have made in anticipation of expenditure that will come in, because this is from these items that we pay electricity bills, water bills, and all that. And for our Lord Court Complex building alone, our monthly electricity bill is almost 500,000. So when you receive an allotment and you don't make these allocations on the budget line, by the time an invoice comes in, you cannot access money on the government's platform. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Auditors, do you have any contrary view?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, indeed, 23.5 million was captured as a payable, But as Madam rightly explained, there are provisions. There's a difference between a payable and a provision. So once you have a provision and not a payable, you need to estimate the reasonableness of the provision that has been made. And that will be based on past experiences. Okay, so it is not a supplier that has supplied something to say that bring me an invoice, blah, 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 blah. No, it's a provision. So we then asked that, okay, since it's a provision, we want to know the basis of how the provision was made. So we can also come to a reasonable conclusion to affirm that the 23 million was okay. The documentation that was given to us, which indeed comprised of utilities, etc., allowances, came to 5.3 million out of the 23.9 million. Now the question was that, do you have further reasonable basis for that, so that indeed that could inform us in terms of how that figure can be cleared? Unfortunately, we couldn't go beyond that. So based on the estimate given to us, which we reviewed, we thought the reasonable estimate for this should be 5.3 million, so that the remainder, which is 18.1 million, can be justified if you get other basis for that.
Honorable Chair, the exit meeting at the Ministry of Finance, I was not present. My deputy was present.
Is your deputy here?
Yeah.
Meeting, you delegated your deputy to represent you in a meeting at the Ministry of Finance. So you want to tell the committee that the aftermath of the meeting, you haven't received any report?
Honorable Chair, I've received the report, but because he is present here, he would speak better to the situation, because the understanding that we had was that, as the auditors rightly said, what had become a payable at the time of the audit was the 5 million. But indeed, if we have, we go back, we have, when it comes to the payments of medical bills, we pay medical bills nationwide. We operate a centralized system. So for something like medical bills, all judicial service staff and judges, including superior court judges who are on retirement, we pay their medical bills. So when they submit their bills, the bills are with a medical committee. So until the committee submits a list that they have vetted to us, you will not come and find maybe 10 million of medical bills outstanding at finance, but it will be that all these claims are with the medical committee, waiting for the chairperson and the committee to vet and submit to us. So it is based on this that we make these provisions, because when you look at the medical bills that we pay over a period, and this provision had been made in the third quarter of 2024. You see, so we make the projection that, because most of the time in the fourth quarter of every year, we don't receive allotments. So it is based on experience, you make these allotments, and then the beginning of the ensuing year, until the appropriation bill is passed, somewhere in February, before you receive the allotment for the first quarter. So then you should have funds to run the system, Honorable Chair.
Madam, I'm sorry to barge in. What the auditors needed was,
A documentation.
you are tending, what, 21 point something to be paid. It was at BTA level. They wanted evidence of your estimates. 2024 was not the first time you were going to pay for medical bills for all the... you have some evidence. All that the auditors needed was The evidence.
Yes.
Hey, 2023 we paid it, 2022 we paid that. So this is what forms the basis of our estimate. And you could only give about 5-point-something million. That's why we are here. Judicial Service.
You didn't have the document.
Do you have the documents now? The estimates? No, use the microphone.
Honorable Chair, we don't have the estimate because at the exits, this amount was not validated, so
Let's move on.
dropped it.
So the amount was not validated, but if you have evidence available, I mean, the committee will be able to address your issue. Here you are, there's no document also again. So how do you validate that money?